Hey toy fans, Aaron here, back with another video, and today taking a look at the, well, I kind of want to say vintage collection, but I guess maybe that's just out of habit. This is the Star Wars Droids release of C-3PO, and this was a Target exclusive in the US, and of those few figures that were offered, this one shipped out in December of 21. Taking a look at that card back, this is a reproduction of the Star Wars Droids line that was done back in 1985 for the animated show. And for the most part, things appear to be, as I said, pretty much an exact replication of that. Colors might be a little bit more vibrant this time around. Some of the images I've seen online seems like maybe, the colors might have been a little more washed out. Maybe the spaceship in the background was more brown or something, but I also could have been just looking at some sun-damaged cards also. Anyways, though, for this card, at the top, you got the Star Wars Droid logo, the animated look of C-3PO and R2-D2 off to the side. Background of the image looks fantastic, very much in line with what I remember how the cartoon looked anyways. Some big red spaceship flying overhead, scaring C-3PO, and R2-D2's got a little bit of damage going on at the top. Within the blister, you get the release of the gold coin once again. That was done for this original line back in '85. Different coin this time around, though. And then through the blister, you got a good look at the included action figure. Also to note, obviously what's different on this card back is the 50th Lucasfilm anniversary logo there off to the left side. Here's a look at the back of the card, where the top part is a little bit reminiscent of the original line. You have the three figures being shown off that are part of this 50th anniversary celebration. All three of those are Target exclusive, at least here in the US. And then off to the right, you've got a similar listing of the descriptions with the way they were done back in '85. This time, though, obviously much shorter because now it's done in multiple languages. Middle of the card is your 50th anniversary representation, the timeline of the films in the Star Wars franchise and when they were released. Bottom half of your card is legal information. And here's a look at the figure out of the packaging. This is not a new figure. This is one that we've seen before. Actually, we've seen it a couple times. Initially, he was released back in 2010, Vintage Collection 06, and then he did get a re-release back in 2020. So sculpting for the figure is exactly the same. What is different this time around, if you haven't noticed already, is the paint job. This figure is pretty much in line with how the character looked in the animated show, the coloring that was done, and the way they released that figure back in '85. So half the figure is done in a pretty bright yellow, and then you get some light brown or brownish yellow coloring being done at the top of the shoulders, the little center circular piece in his chest, the cod piece around the waist, and then the inner parts of the thigh in the front and along the back in his feet. This part, a little bit different from the original release. That '85 release had all bright yellow for the legs, but otherwise this brown color was indeed done on the action figure. You are seeing some blue highlights, which was also done on the character as well in the cartoon and on that original '85 release. We'll get to more on that in a moment. As far as the sculpt, this is, as I said, the more real-world version, not the animated look. And overall, I got to say, it's a solid release for C-3PO. For the most part, the design of the character is, it's metal, a lot of flat panels, some various lines sculpted in for the seaming detail, which you can certainly see going around the top of the head. Otherwise, along the sides of the eyes, you got some seam detailing, same for around the mouth, and a little bit along the side of the head on that back piece. Eyes have a wonderful paint job to them, nice bright white coloring with some pupils painted in there. Sculpting for the arms and chest of the figure looks great, very representative of C-3PO. I feel like that little pointy piece on the elbows is a bit over exaggerated. I really want to just grab it and break it off because it seems like it's wrong, but no, I'm not going to do that. They just can't fit all the little fine details of the mechanics of the actual robot into how it looks in this 3 3/4 inch form. So some of that is getting carried through, but you got the piston sculpted in on the outside part of his upper part of his bicep. Some minor sculpting also for the forearms of the figure. Decent sculpting for the hands. And you can even make out that they sculpted in some of those little metal rods and such that are running on the outer parts. Good representation for how the chest of the character looks, and pretty nice detailing of the wires sculpted in around the lower part of his waist. Along the back side of the figure, pretty decent representation here also of C-3PO. That little back panel piece has some nice sculpting to it. And that little piece also is removable, and I will say that it is really loose. It falls out quite easily on my figure. Below that, through the lower portion of the back, you can see some more wires sculpted in. And then the legs of the figure look pretty much like you want your C-3PO to look. A lot of panel designs, and the shapes of those panels look pretty accurate with a little bit of flaring at the top, some flaring as it gets down around the knee joints, and same way the way it flares out at the bottom just over the foot. As I mentioned a moment ago, he does have removable panels just as that 2010 figure did, and for the front of the figure that's going to be done for the face plate, his chest plate, and the upper thigh plate for his right leg, screen left as you look at it. Underneath it's going to reveal a bunch of wiring detail being sculpted in, also some framing of the figure, which is really hard to tell since it's all done in one color, but I will say the paint job that you get with that 2010 release of this figure is really fantastic. But it's fun that they carried this over, and for the most part those front three pieces stay in quite well. And then on the back side, as I mentioned, that little back plate does come off, revealing a little bit of detailing in there, done in the same bright yellow body color. And then for the removable pieces themselves, the back side, or the inside if you will, of those are all sculpted. They've got some detail being done in there, which is a nice little additional touch that they didn't necessarily need to do. As far as the articulation of the figure, head spins a full 360, swiveling at each shoulder, along with a little bit of hinge movement at that shoulder joint on the outer part anyways. You got bending and swiveling at the elbows, and both wrists swivel. Swiveling at the waist. Your legs come forward, I'd say about 45 degrees, and same amount back. You got to bend at each knee along with a little bit of swiveling, and then both ankles move forward and back a little bit, and you've also got some swiveling. No real accessories to speak of, but like I said, you do get a gold coin with this figure. I think if you're at all familiar with the Star Wars line, you know this was done back in the 80s, revived once again for the 30th anniversary collection, and then the carded yak face figure with the HasLab sail barge came with the coin, and we're getting them once again with this line. The look of this coin is new for this release. It does not carry the same design that was used for the 85 release. Very nice shiny gold look to it. It's C-3PO name up top, just the droid's name along the bottom. Of course, standing tall is C-3PO in the foreground with some other characters in the background. Back of the coin is the 50th anniversary logo stamped in at the top. The droid's logo through the middle with R2 and 3PO along the left side. And then below that, if you can't make it out, it is just text about C-3PO stating that he's a protocol droid conversing in over 6 million forms of communication, and that he is seeking a new master with his friend R2-D2. So overall, for me, it's a fun figure. Gotta say, initially I was a little bummed that they weren't doing a sculpt specific for the show. In my research of this, though, I found out, though, that the one that they released in 85 was just a repaint of the Empire Strikes Back C-3PO. So I guess it's very much in line with what Hasbro/Kenner has done throughout the Star Wars line. But I gotta say, it is awesome just to see this card back being re-released. It looks fantastic, represents some Star Wars history, and since I don't have any of the action figures on cards from that Droids line, you know, as a collector, it's something nice to have to be able to put into my collection. So that's gonna wrap this one up. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comments section below, and as always, thanks for watching.